I don't know if I deserve to drink that chocolate milk after the month I just had. Just had the worst month of my life in terms of poker losses, which you could probably tell by the title to the video. And might as well talk about it, because it happened. The amount might not seem severe to everyone out there. It is severe to me, because this has never happened before. This is as severe as it gets in the negative direction. I think it was minus 1640. Actually, with 1 day to go, if I made $3, I would have only had my second worst month ever. And instead of plus $3, I had a negative 400. So definitely the worst month ever. And let's look at it graphically for a minute. So here is the graph, and it is just terrible. At first, it wasn't too bad. This green oval is Atlantic City and Council Bluffs. Not a ton happened either way. And then the rest is just horrendous. Did have that decent 7-hour stretch, Aria, Bally's Aria, that went okay. But most of it was here, which included Trust Fund Kid at Mandalay, and also here, which included that January 31st session at Aria, where pretty much every hand I played, I ran into a set. So after that kind of break-even, decent AC and Council Bluffs stretch at the beginning, I think it was just about 35 hours here in Vegas. A lot of terrible things happened in 35 hours. Now these things happen, and I would prefer for them not to happen, of course. I would actually prefer the exact opposite, winning every single hand that went down this way instead of losing. I would have taken, you know, these hands not happening at all, but I'll tell you, just to kind of paint you a picture. At MGM, I remember 3 bluffs all failing. One of them was getting looked up by a 70-year-old guy who had pocket 8s with 4 overcards on board to his 8s. And he found the one time in his life he was going to call that river bet, and it happened to be when I bet it. Also that night, I had top set against bottom pair, and bottom pair hit backdoor spades. That was the biggest pot. The bluffs weren't massive pots. That one was pretty annoying. Not that it was all in. Of course the guy had spades, but that was annoying. The next day at Mandalay, I had top pair against second pair, and the guy not only turned 2 pair, I mean that happens, he played it so passively. He was one of the guys in that Only in Las Vegas video who was just checking back monsters. He played it so passively, I thought I was ahead by miles on the river. And if he had actually played it without being terrified of the world, he probably would have pounded the river and let me get away from it. But when he checked the river and looked like he wanted to lay down and cry, I thought I was way ahead, and I bet for value. And after like 3 minutes of thinking about it, he called with 2 pair. The next day at Mandalay, there was a Trust Fund Kid going all in blind pre-flop a lot. And finally, I picked up a hand better than like Queen 2 and was able to call him. I had Ace Queen against his Jack 2. I flopped an ace and I lost. There was a day at Bally's where I was always second best. Nothing massive happened that day, but it was like every single hand for about 6 hours. Then I had a decent stretch of 7 hours where I had some wins. I think 2 wins at Aria and 1 at Bally's, and then I fell off the cliff after that. I had Kings versus Jack 9 on 9-4-3 at MGM, and I lost. Later that day at MGM, this old guy, the board was 7-7-3-3, and this guy would fold literally every hand that was not sevens full or quads, and somehow he had a 7 in his hand. I don't know any hand that he calls a pre-flop raise out of the blinds that has a 7 in it besides quad 7s, pocket 7s. And he didn't have quad 7s because he would have shown for the bonus. He didn't show for the quads bonus, so he had 7x. I guess he was tilting from something else that happened that night. I can't imagine he calls a lot of pre-flop raises out of the small with hands like 8-7 or 7-6, but somehow he had it. I was trying to get him to fold like 5, 6s, 8s, 9s, hands like that, and just didn't work. Along the way, 3 value hands got killed by scary river cards. I had top pair versus top pair, but I had better kicker, and a flush card hit on the river, scared the guy from calling a river bet. I had 2 pair versus 1 pair on the turn, same thing, flush card hit on the river, scared this guy from calling a river bet again. And then I had a straight versus what I would guess was 2 pair, and a guy took the lead from me on the turn. I was gonna shove over his river bet, and the river card put 4 to a straight. So I did win all those hands, but the river cards were all terrible. I was probably gonna win at least 75. I mean, I might have won like $500–600 across those 3 hands if I got clean river cards on all of them, but all of them killed river action. And then really fell off the cliff yesterday when I needed to win at least $3 to avoid my worst losing month ever, and instead I had a -400 at Aria. I lost overpair versus set. I lost overpair versus set again. I lost top pair, top kicker versus set. I lost top pair and a flush draw to a set. I lost the middle set versus straight, and I had an overpair against bottom pair. The one guy at the table who was tilting, and I let him bluff at it, and he had 3-2 on 9-6-2 and started bluffing me, and I was letting him bluff anything he wanted every street, and he rivered trip 2s against my queen. So that all happened yesterday, and that's how you get to minus 1640, I think. That's a lot of things to go wrong in 35 hours. I mean, those things will definitely go wrong again over the course of the next few months, the year, but that's a lot to happen in 35 hours. So more than anything, it's just annoying, you know. Things should even out. You know, if I have a stretch like this, there should be some stretch of 35 hours sometime where every strong hand I hit, I'm up against a guy who has a strong but second best hand, and I have the opportunity to win big pots. And I don't know, those stretches just don't seem to happen. I had some months last year with very high hourlies. April and August had very high hourlies. Just didn't seem like coolers were happening all over the place. You know, it was a lot of hours. It was really good game selection. It was good play. Some promos were involved. It just didn't seem like I was just coolering people, you know, non-stop for like 5 days straight. So just kind of annoying. Not worried that it'll last forever. I mean, there's no rule that say it has to turn around, but it always has. And not worried about anything money related. It's actually interesting the way I live, you know, paying as you go. I'm booked. I have rooms for about the next 7 weeks. So for about 2 months, I don't need to pay anything more out of my pocket. I've already paid for my rooms through almost the end of March. So really, cash out of pocket for like the next 7-8 weeks, there's not much. Like, there's gonna be some food. I'm of course gonna go to Conseco's gas station, which is the best gas station in the world. Yeah, so not worried about like my bank accounts getting depleted or anything. It's a very annoying stretch, but today in real time for me is February 1st. It is a new month. Gonna continue to play well. I will add, I didn't say this, there was one big hand I played poorly. Someone wanted to get all in pre for about 120, and I had a strong hand in absolute terms, not strong enough in relative terms to this player wanting to get all in pre-flop. So I wish I had that one back. And not that I play every hand perfectly, I could always improve, especially in small to medium pots, it does add up. But that was like the worst mistake I made for the month, 35 hours in Vegas before January ended. So gonna keep playing well, keep thinking about how I'm playing hands, and keep playing the hours. There's no point to just stop. Gotta just keep playing, and hope that decent stretch in the middle, those 7 hours at Aria, Bally's Aria, something like that shows up again. So I'll keep you updated how February goes. And that was the absolute worst stretch. That was the absolute worst month of my life. And if you're wondering here, visually, all the losing poker months I've ever had in my life. We'll end the video this way today. Here is the data. Every losing month of my life. And I think I said earlier, 130 hours. Never had a losing month. If I played more than 130 hours, well, I misspoke. It's 140 hours. And that's just because of this data. Like a full-time month, quote unquote, 4 weeks, 40 hours, it's like 160. But I'm just saying 140 because the most hours on this list is this 137.5. And one thing to note is that this month was in 2015. So was this one. And so was this one. These were 3 consecutive months right after I moved here in mid-March 2015 to play poker full-time for the first time in my life. So that was a pretty terrible stretch. Not huge numbers, but I had no money coming in for 3 months. So that was tough, but I persevered, kept playing, kept reviewing hand histories, kept my expenses low. I was able to get through that. But just now, minus 1630, January 2023, worst month of my life.
I got it at the stadium.